Right, that was your currency market update. We want to begin with this one. Ghana's international creditors have given assurance they will fast-track discussions on the country's request for a debt cancellation. This is what Joy Business has picked up from persons working with the Paris Club of Creditors. Here's more in this report.
Joy Business understands that it was this commitment that has seen government press ahead with talks with these developed countries on the debt cancellation. Sources say the Paris Club have agreed in principle to engage Ghana on the possible debt cancellation. The discussion is being done through the G20 debt framework championed by the IMF. We also understand that the request was made by government because it was one of the ingredients that could fast-track the process when it comes to the IMF board approval for the country's economic program in the first quarter of this year. This will convince the IMF that going forward, a lot more is being done by government to ensure that it brings its debt to sustainable levels. Sources say, looking at the way the discussions are progressing, it is likely that the country could have its debt cancelled. However, it is not clear for now the stated condition. This is because this is the first time that the country has got its debt cancelled. It got a similar relief when it signed up to the HIPC initiative for poor countries in the year 2000. We also understand that this debt cancellation deal is different from other measures the government is already undertaking when it comes to its domestic debt exchange program, as well as its debt freeze for its external creditors.
Senior finance lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Seram Kawo, is on Zoom with us. Good afternoon to you. Happy New Year, Seram. What do these discussions entail and what will be the considerations? You're muted.
Good afternoon, Dari. To you, Happy New Year. This debt cancellation debate is a good way to go. It's a way to ensure that our debt sustainability level is much higher so that we will be able to get the release from IMF on the loan agreement we want to raise with them on the $3 billion. And one of the issues that came up with the debt exchange program in the domestic market, and we've heard a lot about the individual debt holders calling for a class action, and they are meeting government on it. We have the labor unions talking about the pension funds. We have the financial sector players, the banks, and some other insurance companies also talking about withdrawing from this debt exchange program. That is going to give us a lot of issues when we want to go ahead with the IMF negotiations. And so calling on the bilateral debt holders to cancel the debt is a strategy to ensure that our debt sustainability level is much maintained so that we'll be able to go ahead to get the bailout and also free us and give us more room for more loans from the bilateral market.
What would be the implications for us and what would be required for us if this pulls through?
Good. You know, this is not the first time we have gone through this particular debt cancellation issue. We can remember the HIPC initiative around 2001, when in Africa over 34 billion dollars have been given to all countries. And that is supposed to ensure that these amounts that have been given are used for poverty alleviation. And so in going forward, when we are going to go through this cancellation, this Paris Club will require from us what we are going to use the monies for in terms of alleviation of poverty and growth and development in the country.
How does this put us in a good position when it comes to our debt situation? How significant would that be?
It is going to make sure that once much of our debt has been cancelled, we would have a lesser debt to pay. So the debt that will be left with will be the domestic debt and those with the multinational entities. And the bilateral debts and those debts with the Paris Club form a substantial amount of money, and that will significantly reduce our debt portfolio.
Earlier, you were talking about where the monies would go. Any suggestions for the government?
Yes, we went through this particular thing during the HIPIC initiative, and where they want to reduce poverty, they look at the construction of public toilets and all those things where they expect people to use those facilities. We need to look at a different approach in looking at those things this time around to ensure that we don't have public toilets, but we have toilets that are built in houses where people can maintain themselves going forward. We also have to look at government expenditure. It is not a situation that we have received money and for that matter, we can use it anyhow. Where government wants to look at businesses, looking at businesses that will grow. It is not free money that is coming in, and for that matter, government should give these monies to individuals to spend anyhow. But monies that will be given to these individuals at a reduced interest rate and a time period for which they can pay this amount of money. And businesses that come around, they should be monitored and scrutinized very well to ensure that there is feasibility in whatever they are bringing up for us to go forward. There should be more strengthening of the public sector activities that are there. So training and development, research and development, very necessary to ensure that the people are competent enough to carry out their various responsibilities, to ensure that the debt level is reduced and there is prudence and accountability in the resources that have been given to us by these bilateral countries.
Great. My last question would be whether, or does this mean an end to our debt issues? Does it? Where do we go from here?
Good. It is a huge question we need to ask. Is that the end of it? When we had the HIPIC situation, all our debts were cancelled. But we are back to this same situation today. And so that will not mean that, yes, we are out of the woods. We will go back to the same situation if we repeat the same mistakes. It looks like Ghana as a country, we are not learning from our past experiences. And for that matter, we go back and do the same thing and ask for the same people to cancel our debt. So the debts are still there. The domestic debts are there. The multinational debts are also there. So when the bilateral debts are being cancelled, does not mean that that is the end of the entire debt situation. But we must also know that there is debt to be paid. If we are going to incur other debts, the largest interest rate that we can pay on the debt that we are going on per IMF release is 2.999%. If 2.999% on 3 billion is almost around $9 million that we have to pay on this debt. Now, if government is going into the market, the international financial market to borrow, that should be a yardstick as to how much interest you are going to pay on the debt, on the loans that you are going to take. If government is taking loans at the interest rate of more than 15%, 18%, 20, 25%, that becomes very worrisome. And the market will not be able to sustain these things going forward. So it needs prudent management, effective management, and diligent applicability of the resources that are available to us as a country.
Okay, grateful for your time. Sarah Mkao, Senior Finance Lecturer at the University of Cape Coast.